Hi, everyone, and welcome to the openinPHL podcast. I'm your host, Carl,
And I'm Danielle.
and on this podcast, we share the stories of the artists, stores, restaurants, and other businesses that make Philly special. Today, we interview Amy Coe of Ham and Bone, a pet shop in Fishtown. Ham and Bone is a carefully curated shop where you can find the best natural nutrition options for your pet, as well as novelty treats and accessories, plus grooming.
I think we need to provide some context for how we know Amy for this episode because it feels more conversational than any other episode we've had. For some context, I met Amy at the beginning of 2017 when we both worked at the City Fitness on Frankfurt Ave together. And I've basically known her ever since. She opened the pet shop like 7 months later, and we kept in touch. I would buy gifts for my dog that lives with my parents from her, and I still do. And then in 2018, after Carl and I were dating a couple months, she actually met his friend and they started dating.
So if you hear the name Connor mentioned, Connor is Amy's boyfriend.
And your friend.
Yeah, he's even my friend too. So shout out Connor. In this episode, Amy talks about growing a team, mishaps at the shop, and of course, pet ownership.
Hey, Amy, welcome to the openinPHL podcast.
Danielle, thanks for having me.
Let's start at the start. Are you from Philly?
I grew up in Montgomery County, so not like the city, but I was born in Abington and I grew up in Horsham.
Have you lived anywhere else?
I went to college in New York for 2 years. I went to Fordham and then I was in DC for 2 years, so I graduated from GW. After I graduated college, I lived in New York for like 5 years and then I moved to Philly in 2016. So when I moved to Philly in 2016, it was like my first time actually living in the city.
What did you study at GW?
I forget what like the official names were at both places, but I basically was a graphic design major.
So, what drew you back to Philly?
I mean, I was in New York. I was basically there to just like party and have fun. I my first job in New York, I think I worked at some like magazine company. I don't even remember what magazine it was now, but then from there I went to corporate retail and I worked at Brooks Brothers corporate and I was basically like a project manager for all of their like website stuff. From there I moved to a pharmaceutical advertising agency. I wasn't doing graphic design, I was actually doing account management. So we were a full service creative agency, so I worked with the designers and copywriters. And then I decided I wanted to move back to Philly. I was just like over New York and it's expensive. I just like partied all the time and I was like, I'm ready for a slower pace of life now. The agency that I was working for, they let me work from home. So I moved to Philly and I was like still working for them. Moved in with my parents for like 2 months and then I was on my own in Fishtown.
And that's where we met because we worked at the gym together.
So funny story, Danielle, Carl, and I already all know each other. but but yeah, basically when I was working for my agency, I did it for about a year, and during that time, I mean, working from home in theory is great because you don't have anyone bothering you and you can kind of make your own schedule but not really, but it also like sucks at the same time because you lose that face-to-face interaction with people. While I was working from home, I actually worked part-time at the gym just doing front desk because I was like, I gotta meet some people around here, and that's how Danielle and I met.
Yeah. Fun times, 2016, 2017.
Yeah, so remember I used to wake up at like 4, like walk over to the gym, work until 8 or 9. So I worked like 3 or 4 hours at the front desk, and then I would go home and start working my other job.
Back to back.
Because
It's
I like
wild. And this was at
City, yeah, it was at City Fitness in Fishtown. And it's not even like I needed like the $7 an hour or whatever the hell I got. It was just basically because I was like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I know I have to meet some people, so let me do this.
Yeah, gym, you get a free gym membership too, so it's not a bad
And right,
perk.
and City Fitness had like just opened, right? In Fishtown.
Yeah,
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 3 years ago.
cool. So that brings us to our next question. What kind of pets did you have growing up in Montco?
Wawa, who passed away last year, but she was 14, so that's a dog that I grew up with. And then when I lived in New York, I adopted my cat Zoe, who I still have, and I think she's like 8 now. And now I have 4 animals in my apartment. So I moved to Philly, had Zoe, and then in 2016, I adopted Luna. Last year, we inherited a kitten from Connor, who is my boyfriend's parents, because they ended up being allergic to him. Um, and then earlier this year, I adopted a dog for my parents, but I never gave him to them.
So Churro was supposed to be for your
Yeah, because
parents?
after Cece passed away in December, I was like, I gotta get them another dog. So I like adopted
Yeah.
him, and then I was like, I'll help, because he wasn't like house trained or anything. So I was like, oh, I'll just take him back to my apartment and like help with that. And then I never gave him to them because I became too obsessed.
So do they still want a dog, or are they at peace with it, just being grandparents?
Always want another dog, but at this point, like I go home every weekend and I take them with me, so I think he's like fine right now.
Yeah, they still get their visiting privileges. Well,
Does it get easier when you acquire more pets, or does it get more challenging adding to the mix?
Can't add any more. It's a lot. Like feeding them is like such a process, and like, I mean, cats I guess are easy, but it's just a lot of hair, and like going away, you have to like, who's watching the cats? Where are the dogs going? This and that. But at the same time, it's awesome having all of them. So
So, Amy, can you walk us through that period of time between working at home and working at City Fitness in the morning and leading up to opening Ham and
it
Bone?
was in May that I moved to Philly into my apartment in Fishtown. A few weeks later, I adopted Luna. She was a puppy. It must have been soon after that I started working the front desk at Fishtown at City Fitness.
yeah, we opened in December 2016, right around Christmas.
So it must have been like right around the same time. So yeah, I was taking care of Luna. Literally the only people that I knew in the area was from taking her to the dog park, because when you have puppies, you spend all your time like outside walking the dog or at the dog park. So you end up meeting a lot of people. And like until this day, I definitely still keep in touch with a lot of those people that I met when Luna was a puppy. Going back to working, I was doing account management for a pharmaceutical advertising agency, which like was fine, and I was making my New York salaries. Money wise, I had no issues. I was making great money, and then like the extra money from City Fitness, but like there was nothing like exciting about it. The kind of business that I worked on was for HCP, so like healthcare professionals, like advertisements for sales aids and stuff like that. So I was just going through the motions of like getting these projects done and doing these things, but I didn't have any attachment to the work, and there wasn't any passion really behind what I was doing. So after working from home for a few months at the end of 2016, I literally spent all my time with Luna and the friends that I made at the dog park. At that time, there were no other stores in the area, like pet stores. A brief thought crossed my mind, and I was like, why are there no pet stores around here when there's so many dogs? And you think there's a lot of dogs now in Fishtown, which like there's so many more, but even like 4 or 5 years ago, there were so many dogs as well, and nowhere that you could really walk to like get them treats or food. I like thought about it here and there, but didn't actually like think too much about it. So then a year later, summer of 2017, I was pretty miserable working from home still. There's like two options here. I can either like move to another agency that's based in Philly, making less money, doing the same thing, and I would probably be even more miserable, or I can just take a risk and do something with this idea I had of like opening a pet store in Fishtown. We opened in 2017, and I was actually working my advertising job for another year, like while Ham and Bone opened. So I was like sitting at the shop on my computer, like working while the shop was open, which is really the only way that I was able to do it because money wise, like I needed the income from the job with the agency to help. Because first year of retail, it's really a shot in the dark. Some people don't even make it through their first year. So I had the luxury of working with the agency about a year. So I went from like full time, and then after a few months, I went part time. And then eventually, like after a year, I was able to say bye for good. That was like the most liberating and amazing feeling ever.
That's something that a lot of people spend their entire lives working toward. The previous experience with the agency and any other prior work experience that you had, how do you think it prepared you for being a business owner?
Leading back to like when I was in high school and even like middle school, I was always like into art and design, which is what I studied in college. And although I didn't follow through with that like after school, having that eye for design, I guess, has helped me because everything that I do for Ham and Bone, I do myself. Like I don't have anyone else doing the website or like Instagram or any of that. I pretty much do everything myself. I had a friend of mine create the logo for me, like when I first opened, but other than that, I'm able to do everything myself. Definitely the project management and like account management part of the agency jobs and the corporate retail jobs that I worked help. Because right now, like I am very type A personality and I use Google Sheets, Excel spreadsheets for everything that I do. And that really ladders back to being in account management because you have to be so organized.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Another part of account management is you have to keep track of your clients' budget business. Like the first year, honestly, I don't know about anyone else, but like I had no idea what I was doing. Didn't even keep track of like money. I don't think I lost any money the first year, honestly. If anything, I probably broke even. The financial aspect, being track of budgets, that definitely helped tremendously too.
Yeah, you'll get, at least I feel, you get a lot of overzealous people who are more like idealistic and they don't have that reality check of, okay, I have to stick to a budget or else there will be nothing for me to actually work on.
Definitely, it wasn't anything.
Where does the name Ham and Bone come from?
My name is Amy, but my Korean name is Hemi. Growing up and even now, my cousins and like close friends had nicknames for me and they would call me Hammer or Hams. And then one of my cousins actually like would call me Hambone all the time. So it was a really easy thing. I don't even remember like thinking too hard about it when I had to come up with a name. My like nicknames just lended itself.
I think it works well. Yeah.
I know people are always like, "Did you name it Ham and Bone after Rag and Bone, like with a retail store?" And I'm like, "Oh, not really."
Yeah, that's really cool. That's cool that people make that connection though, because it kind of puts it on the same level in their mind as like more of an upscale or like respectable business. Not to say that you're as expensive as Rag and Bone, but
Yeah, that would be a huge compliment to be anywhere near a shop like Rag and Bone. But yeah, I can see what you
yeah,
mean.
it does give it an established kind of aura. which you are established. So it's fitting.
And you're established to the point now where you have more employees working with you. So exactly how big is your team at Ham and Bone?
Officially 4, but like almost 5. We have the retail section of our store, which is what we first started out doing, like strictly retail. But now we have the grooming part of our shop too. In the past year, the grooming has really boomed thanks to like the awesome groomers that I have on my team. So most of those employees are groomers. I have one employee that works like upstairs at the register with me, and then the rest are all um, grooming.
Wow, I remember when you just had one groomer. That's wild.
Now I have 3, yeah.
Wow.
But some recent events, because like one of my groomers just broke her foot and she's in a cast, and obviously grooming doesn't really lend itself to somebody being in a cast. So it's kind of because her days were cut and I needed to find someone else to fill, so that's why we have 3. Not because we're like crazy busy or anything like that. But yeah, it's good.
That's awesome. They've been doing a really great job on dyeing blue and purple tints into hair for
Yeah, we have a lot of fun with grooming, and it's awesome because like I've brought these new people on it within like the past few months, and they all have such different things to like give experience, taste, and how they, cut the dog's hair. It's just like such a well-rounded like circle of talent. It is so hard to find groomers.
Have you ever had someone bring their dog in and they want the heart cut out around like the butt, like the tail?
We have not had anyone ask for that. Maybe when you get a dog one day, you'll be the first
Oh,
person.
we'll delve into that. That's for later in the conversation. I already hinted this to Carl. The store, you have both grooming and retail. So on the retail end, what products seem to sell the best?
The shelves are mostly filled with food, because that's what takes up the most space. But honestly, a lot of people buy food from like grocery stores or like Amazon and stuff. So, I mean, while we do sell like a good amount of food, I think that like treats and like novelty items like bones and stuff like that definitely sell more than just like bags of food. And I try to carry like and accessories, stuff like that for dogs, like collars, harnesses, leashes. While I don't like my selection isn't very wide, I try to carry things that you won't find in other stores like around the city. I mean, the accessories like sell every now and again, but that's not like the huge selling point either. I think people who know what they're looking for and know that they're coming to my store to get that, it's more that's what sells for the accessories. But yeah, I mean, treats and bones and stuff like that are definitely.
Fun fact, I bought a jar of CBD peanut butter from your shop for my dog that lives with my parents in Northeast PA. This was like probably a year ago. I took it up to her and she didn't want it at all. Like she didn't want to eat it. She just wouldn't.
Oh
And
no.
so the ingredients were just peanuts, coconut oil, and CBD. So I just ended up eating it myself.
Can because so many, well, probably like 90% of the treats that I carry in my store are all human ingredients. And like, even when the sales reps come to like try and get you to carry them, they're like, here, you want to try it? Like, it's pretty good. So like a lot of it is like you can eat it yourself.
No, Carl and I were just having this conversation, and I told him I ate dog treats when I was a child, like exploring, and he thought it was so weird. And I was like, no, you can eat dog food, like to a degree.
Especially now. Like back then, I don't know.
You've heard it here.
So there, Carl.
openinPHL pod
Yeah,
exclusive.
it's not just dog treats. We sell human treats too, so everyone can come.
It's fun for the whole family.
Exactly. Kids in the
uh,
shop, kids that like come into the shop and parents are like, no, you can't eat that. It's for dogs. And I want to be like, no, they can have it.
Some of the treats look so good too. They look like cookies that you would get from a bakery.
And they smell so good too.
Mm-hmm.
I
Especially with
haven't
peanut butter.
I haven't delved into one of the cookies yet, but if I do, I'll let you know how it tastes.
Yeah, the peanut butter one specifically. I'm curious about that. Okay, let's move on.
So you mentioned that it's tough to find groomers. How did you make the transition to grooming and adding that on? Danielle also mentions that you have a few celebrity clients. So how has that changed as you've added grooming to the store?
So we're on the first ground floor, and then my basement was like huge, and we weren't doing anything with it. So I was like, what can I do with the basement? And then I was like, why don't I put bathtubs downstairs so that people, DIY bath stations so that people could bring their own dogs in to bathe them because a lot of people are living in apartments like in the area and like there's nowhere to really wash your dog. So that was probably one of like the big purchases that I made was like buying these huge bathtubs and like all the drying equipment and stuff so we did that and put it in the basement. And then after like a few months of that, I was like, well, if I have all the equipment downstairs, why don't I just get a groomer? When we first started grooming, I had no knowledge of anything grooming related. So I brought on a groomer who she was also young. I mean, it was fun working with each other, but like she was like a new groomer too. So we got people in, but it wasn't until I hired one of my other groomers who has like 15 years of experience and she's still working with me now that like that's what like really got our grooming business underway. And now like Carl had mentioned, we do have some athletes that bring their dogs to the shop.
Taco the dog also visits your shop.
So, Fishtown Taco.
Yeah, yeah, Fishtown Taco.
We have Joel Embiid who brings his dog Klaus to get groomed. The past few times Joel has actually picked and dropped him off, which was pretty cool. He's very nice, in case you were wondering. Jake Elliott, who I believe is the kicker on the Eagles. Him and his wife bring their two little dogs to the shop to get groomed too.
Taco's the one I care about the most, but athletes are okay too. Um, so Amy, do you have any horror stories that you want to share?
Let's go in chronological order. So I think it was last year or maybe the year before. I was actually scammed by someone for like 600 bucks. Okay, I like to think of myself as like a pretty smart and aware person, like street smart, whatever. But I had a guy calling the shop. I have caller ID and it was coming up as some like weird it was like W Interactive, like an 800 number, like calling, and he was saying that it was Pico. It was like, we have been trying to send you these like bills or something. Long story short, he basically told me that my electric was going to get shut off because I didn't pay something. And I was like freaking out because he was like, yeah, they're going to come out like right now and shut it off. And I was like, I had like grooming going on downstairs. The shop was open. I was like, shit, what am I going to do? They're going to like turn everything off. And he was like, well, here's what you have to do. You have to send us like $600 via like these. He was like, we don't take checks. You have to like go get them. They're like money packs or something that you get at like convenience stores. And he was like, you have to go get them and then you read the numbers out to us and then like it'll stop like the shut off. Which like when I'm telling the story and I think about it in hindsight, like I'm so dumb.
Oh. Well, when
So
you're under stress, sometimes that can affect your thinking.
literally like right the second after it happened, I was like, shit, I just got scammed like $600. Because like I was at the store, so I had Connor run to like the store and like take my debit card and like buy these things so that I could call this stupid guy back so that my electricity, quote unquote, wouldn't get shut off. And then apparently this was like a scam that was happening because I don't know why I didn't think to Google like the phone number or whatever was happening while it was happening, but I was so freaked out and stressed out about like my electric getting shut off that I didn't. And then right after it happened, I Googled it and I like found a post on Facebook saying like, "Hey, if this person's calling you, know that it's a scam."
Was it on the Fishtown Facebook group?
Those groups, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's horror story number one. I've had a handful of customer related horror stories, customers and their opinions about their dog's haircuts and that all that fun stuff. So there have been a few there.
Hair grows back.
Yeah. Some people take their dog's haircuts very, 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 very seriously. To like the point of like, oh my gosh, I don't know how this person is when they're getting their own haircut. But hey, everybody is entitled to their own opinion, and more often than not, if they're not happy, we figure out a way to make them happy, so it always works out at the end of the day. And then another horror story that recently happened a few weeks ago, I was robbed at my shop, which is another story where, in hindsight, like when I'm telling the story, it totally could have been avoided. But again, like in the moment, you like give people the benefit of the doubt and you don't think anything like that is going to happen because my shop is like my second home, and thinking of somebody coming into my house to just like rob me is something that like you don't think is actually going to happen to you. This guy came in and he was in and out a few times asking for some paper towels to wipe his feet. I gave him the paper towels, but he was checking out like my bag the whole time. And then he caught me. He was in and out of the shop like a few times, and he must have been like hanging out outside while I was like running up and down the stairs because like sometimes I go downstairs to like grab stuff in the back room. This point in time, there was a dog downstairs like about to get groomed, so I was like going down there to check on the dog. And the third time he came back in, he crept in. Like if you watch the video, he like tiptoes inside, like goes straight to my bag, rummages through my stuff, and as soon as he like finds my like wallet pouch thing that like has my stuff in it, he just crept back out of the shop and then like started running, and he had too much, like my neighbors went after him, but he had too much of a head start. He got away. So I learned my lesson the hard way that don't leave your bag wide open in plain sight. Don't, and it's just like those life lessons where your parents are like, I told you so, like don't be too nice to everybody.
And if someone asks for paper towels, don't give it to them.
Exactly. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so that's the latest horror story, and I hope there's no more ever again because
Yeah,
that
that's so slimy.
Yeah.
Terrible.
everything in the bag was replaceable. It was like a pain in the ass to like get my credit cards like canceled and stuff. Like till this day, like 3 weeks later, I still don't have an ID because I don't know what the holdup is at the DMV. But the worst part is just like feeling violated, like in your own like space. That's what like leaves such a bad taste in your mouth.
Back in March, my car was broken into, and guy had like just like change and some food stolen out of it. So nothing super important, but it was still such a gross feeling. And like I didn't know who did it either, so it was just like, yeah, you just feel so violated.
That happened to me when I first moved here too. Somebody was in my car because you could tell they like threw everything all over the place. There was like nothing to take, but it's just like such a gross feeling that like somebody's in your space and they know they shouldn't be doing what they're doing, but they're like still doing it.
Desperate people. Let's bring it up to this year before the COVID shutdown, which didn't actually affect you, but affected a big swath of the economy. What was a typical day for you at the shop like?
I mean, just a regular day at the shop, we would be open like 11 to 8 on the weekdays, 10 to 6 on the weekend. So I'd be going into the shop. We would have grooming. I think we had grooming every day. There's certain days where orders have to be put in. Grooming is going on downstairs. So, I'm either like helping groomers or I'm taking photos of the dogs or videos of the dogs to like put up on social media. I would say a lot of my time is spent doing just like the back end work of like keeping the retail portion going. And then a lot of time I spend on social media. I think that my Instagram, at least for Ham and Bone, is like a lot. I mean, I don't have the followers to show it. I don't even think I have like 2,000 followers, but a lot of people who come to my shop, like my regular customers, they're always waiting for their like dog's photo to be up there, like after they get groomed. So I spend a lot of time posting photos of dogs on Instagram. And also, I've been slacking in this area, but I do try and post like new items that we like get that people might be interested in. And it's always cool to like have people either like message me or come in and be like, "Hey, I saw that you like had this. I saw you posted on Instagram. Like, can I get one?" Because you do see like a return on that kind of stuff. So
Totally. It's quality over quantity. You'd rather have like a quality engagement with people rather than have like 10,000 fake
exactly.
followers.
And like I always have people telling me like, "I love watching all the dogs on your Instagram." So I feel like I owe it to my followers to post fun dog content every day.
I love watching the dogs on your Instagram.
Me too. I second that. I think it's a great, even just the photos alone with the text of their name, just to match the face to the name is incredible.
I'll definitely go through the highlights and then I'll show Carl. And
I definitely have a lot of fun doing that stuff. And if somebody were to take my phone and like look through my photos, they'd be like, why does this person have thousands of photos and videos of like other people's dogs? And I constantly have to like delete stuff on my phone because it takes up so much space. And how can you not love watching dogs if
that's my
they
favorite content.
if if someone has an issue with that, then I think they have a lot of other parts of their life that need some
Oh,
reconsideration.
totally. They're a psychopath.
On our third episode with V Marks the Shop, one of their owners said that they had a customer walk in and they thought that it was a pet store. So now that we're interviewing a pet store, what are some misconceptions that people have about Ham and Bone, and what have you had to
I
correct?
mean, the only thing that people sometimes think that we are when they walk in, they're like, "Oh, I thought this was like a deli or something," or like I guess they think it's like bags of chips like along the shelves or something. I haven't really experienced much. I feel like people just know that it's for animals because usually in the window, like I have either like dog clothes or stuff like that. I get a lot of people calling asking if I sell dogs. Somebody called asking if we tip dogs' ears. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but like when you get their
Yeah.
like ears cut, we're like,
Yeah. Or like
no. Yeah,
crops.
yeah, crop. Yeah, I guess I don't know. I didn't answer the phone. One of the girls at the shop answered and they told me, and I was like, what?
It's like one of those cosmetic things, like how they snip certain breeds' tails, like cockers, how they have the little nubbies.
Like there's different types of pet shops and different types of owners cater to their animals in different ways. So sometimes people come into the shop and they're looking at all the price tags and they're like, "Oh my God, like who spends this much money on like dog treats or who spends this much money on a collar?" So that might be, I guess, a misconception. Like everyone thinks that dog food should be like $5 for like a 20-pound bag or like a collar should be like $10, but that's not really the case in my store. I mean, I definitely try to cater to everybody and have products in all different price ranges. I feel like a lot of times people are shocked when they come in and see what kind of products we have tied to the price tag.
I think you get what you pay for, and you have a great mix of things that are like both high and
Yeah.
low.
That's what
So,
yeah, because I think about it from my perspective too. I'm like, if I walked in here, like, would I want to spend this much money on a water bowl? I'd be like, no. So I'm gonna have, but some people will. So, you always have to have that array of things you have to try and make everyone happy, but there's only so much you can do.
So you mentioned trying to please everybody, no matter what price range they're working with. For somebody without a pet, what can you offer them?
Somebody without a pet. Um, I do have some people that come into the shop and they don't have pets. I mean, a lot of people come in buying gifts for pet owners. I think buying gifts related to somebody's pet, I think is great and everybody loves it and it's something that'll always be used in one way or another. But I feel like somebody without a pet, I can show them all the cool things that you can buy for a pet and it'll just encourage them to adopt a pet in their future.
perfect segue because
Are you adopting a dog?
no, I wish.
Oh.
This is my question though. What advice can you give to someone who wants a dog, but their partner doesn't want a dog, but it'll make their lives better? Just asking for a friend.
I can assume that this hypothetical question may be related to you guys, and
Really?
I can almost bet my four animals that Danielle is the one that wants a dog, and Carl may be the one that is not completely on board.
No, this is for Joe and Jackie. Shout out
What's up,
Parker.
Alan? But honestly,
What would you say to what would you say to this couple? Let's hear it.
my first advice would be unless you have reasons not to, I would definitely adopt a dog. And there's lots of different dogs that you can adopt. You just have to look in the right places. Like if you're looking for a specific breed or, a dog that is bigger, smaller, whatever. There's so many adoptable dogs and they just need homes. So before you buy a dog, that's my first advice. I would consider adopting. And honestly, at the end of the day, like, I mean, none of us have kids, so I don't think we know what it feels like to come home to your lovely children at the end of the day. But like, there's no buddy or anything that like loves you so unconditionally as like your animals do. It's like you can do no wrong, and for them to just like love you so much, they just make you so happy. And even when they're like assholes, which a lot of animals are, they just they don't know any better and they're so innocent, like it's just such a great feeling to be able to care for the animals that just need you and all they want is like human affection, which is great. And they don't talk, which is great.
Yeah. Although sometimes you might wish that they would.
I mean, given whatever kind of job you work in, Carl, I'm sure because you have to talk all day when you're teaching to like kids and you have to talk to parents and you have to talk to teachers. Don't you just want to like come home and cuddle with like something that isn't going to talk to you?
I'm fine in my own headspace. I don't know if I need another thing that's inanimate
All
in my
right,
life
well, you should
I would.
to give me that
I
feeling.
would like this experience.
like if you're like frustrated or something, like you just look at them and they like want you to hug them. Or like you need some time and you're like, all right, I'm gonna go walk the dog just to like get your mind off things. I mean, yeah, you have hobbies like riding your bike and playing video games, right?
Yeah, yeah, he's been playing a lot of Paper Mario lately.
But you could, but you,
Yeah, I have my
and
hours.
you
Yeah.
could do all of that A little amazing life. Does that even make sense? Not a
Yes,
human. Not a
Yeah.
human, but life.
like a creature.
Exactly.
See, I grew up having dogs and I love dogs. And I go on Pet Finder more than I would like to admit. But I don't think that Carl quite gets it yet because he's never had a dog.
You pretty much just have to just do it, Danielle, even if that means like coming home with it one day.
That's what my mom said.
Because sometimes like someone is people can be so stubborn that you just have to do it and prove them wrong. Daniel will find a stray dog that finds the entryway to your door one day and walks right in.
Can the stray dog look similar to Churro?
Of course, but that might be hard because Churro is literally one in a million. I got so lucky with this dog. I mean, all my animals are great, but he's truly one of a kind.
Yeah. I'm I'm partial to Pekingese and Shih Tzus, so hopefully one of them.
These are so cute and they have like pretty good personalities.
Hmm.
Shih Tzus can really go both ways.
Yeah, they're very vocal, which I like. I like a vocal dog, a small vocal dog, not too loud.
I could see Carl with more like a Luna kind of dog, which is like a mixed, like lower maintenance, chill, doesn't need like as much like, because certain breeds have to get groomed all the time, so you have
Mhm.
to put money out there. But like dog like Luna, she's so easy. You just brush her once in a while, take her for walks, and oh, she doesn't even want to hang out with me sometimes. She like goes into the other room. She's like the perfect amount of like affection and like, okay, mom, I don't need you.
Did you want to talk about your brand apparel? I know I've seen Connor with it. Do you offer it in store or is it just like Connor
I
only gets
pretty
it?
much just do like small runs of it because I just give it to people. Like I don't make people pay for them. I give it to people just, I like to show my appreciation to like our customers and people who are spending like a lot of money like at the shop. I just want to be like, thanks for your support. Here's like a sweatshirt. And, more often than not, like who doesn't love getting like a free sweatshirt or like a t-shirt or something?
I guess I have to buy some gifts for people then if I'm trying to come up on a t-shirt or a sweatshirt.
What can a small pet store like yours offer a customer versus a large one like PetSmart?
So the upstairs, it's not that big, so I can only fit so many brands of food, So a lot of the majority of brands that I carry in my shop, like food wise, are those that cannot be sold to big box stores. So these are brands that cater more towards the independent stores like me. And so, we do carry different products that you're not able to find online or like in the Petco's and PetSmarts. But aside from that, I think shopping at a small shop like ours, you get the face-to-face people interaction and you make like relationships with people that you wouldn't make walking into like a huge retail store like PetSmart. I have become friends with a lot of my customers and like relationships with people that I really value and sometimes like, I have so many friends that I've met from the shop and like people who now like even when they're not gonna buy something, they just like come in to like say hi because like, you know, they like having us there and I've become like a therapist for a lot of people actually too, which is funny because like even during like COVID, like they'll come into the shop, maybe to buy something for their dog, but like a lot of times just to like talk to somebody that's like not their like significant other to be like, man, how are you guys doing through all of this? So like it's pretty awesome.
Maybe for the next apparel run, you could do a Charlie Brown reference with the psychiatrist stand and you could have Luna as the Snoopy dog.
Like I know what you're talking about. That sounds
Oh,
That
you
sounds
gotta know.
interesting though.
Yeah. It's a reoccurring thing in Charlie Brown where I
It's Lucy.
think Lucy offers therapy like a psychiatrist would, and she has a little
Oh,
wooden stand and offers it for 5
that's so
cents.
fun, and we can rope Mo into this too.
Oh,
He can,
yeah. Oh
You
my
could.
god, any
Yeah.
Peanuts reference he would
yeah,
love.
because he loves Snoopy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be so great. I would totally wear
That'd
that
be
on a
so
t-shirt. It'd
cute.
be cool.
He does great. He did our logo for the pod.
It's great.
Thanks.
Yeah, any interesting stories your customers have come to you with?
A handful of breakups through COVID and like couples moving out and figuring out who keeps the cat and like or who's or the cat's sick now and they have joint like custody, so like they have to one has to take it to this appointment and this appointment, just relationships, stuff like that. I just lend my ear to a lot of people.
Sure, they appreciate it,
Yeah.
especially because you're like linked to their animal, which is something that they already find solace in.
Yeah.
Great point.
Can't go to the bar, so you can go to the dog's bar.
Something like that. As you kind of mentioned, you've been open during the shutdown because you've been classified as an essential business. So, how has COVID and everything that it entails, how has that changed the way that you run the shop?
I mean, it's definitely a really shitty situation. I think a lot of like good things for both myself and the shop have come out of it because before COVID, we didn't offer like any sorts of like delivery. I didn't have like any commerce, but since all of this happened, I was kind of forced to offer different things like delivery. So now I do offer delivery to people, and like there are people that take advantage of it, less so now, even like a few months out. But in the beginning, a lot of people were asking for delivery, and we offered it free of charge as long as like it's within like a reasonable distance, and most of the people are people that lived in Fishtown, so we were like happy to offer it. And I actually got like I would say now like 90% of like everything I sell in the shop, like food and treats and stuff like that, I've gotten onto my website for e-commerce. So before COVID, I didn't have anything up there. It was always like on my to-do list, but I really hauled ass during all this and got everything up there, which felt pretty good. And people do use it even to like place orders for delivery or like curbside pickup and stuff like that.
That's awesome. That's something that we've noticed a lot with a lot of businesses, that this shutdown has accelerated trends that would have taken the next decade to play out.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Amy, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to your former self when you were just starting off with Ham and Bone?
I would say don't always listen to your parents. It's because when I first started and I told my parents that I wanted to do this, my parents, so I'm first generation. So I was born here. My parents were born in Korea, and they've been like business owners like for the past like 40 years. And when I told them about my brilliant idea, they were like, I wouldn't do that. They're like, do you know how hard it is to like run your own business? Which now I totally understand why they said that because like when you're in your business, you're like literally never not working. But so when they shot me down the first time, I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm not going to do that. But then when I was like, no, I'm going to do what I want, I'm so glad that I did it because um, having my shop is very rewarding. It's a lot of hard work, but I do love having it and making it into something that's my own. When you're opening up something, it's like it's so easy to compare yourself to like other people and like other stores and what they're doing, which like at the end of the day, sure, it's your competition, so you kind of have to, notice what other people are doing, but at the same time, like if you're trying to be like the other shop that's down the street or, trying to carry all the things that the other places have, then that's pretty much taking away from your own vision and what makes you unique. So I think a lot of times I did focus on like, oh, how can I compete with them? I need to do this and I need to carry that. But I think now I've learned to like let that go. And just walking into my shop, I feel like it has a different feel and vibe compared to like other shops that are in the area. So I'm pretty proud of where I've come to.
I agree. I like the way that everything is curated in the shop, and I also like how it feels less kitschy or gimmicky than other shops that I have been in.
Because some stores you like can walk into, and yes, it's amazing because it's a one-stop shop. Because like you feel like you walk in somewhere and they have so much stuff. Like while you feel overwhelmed, but you're like, oh, they have everything here. But like my store is more like you kind of have to talk to people to like find what you're looking for, and you walk in, and I don't want anyone to feel overwhelmed. I want it to feel airy and like you said, curated, like somebody thoughtfully picked everything out that is here. Been pretty minimal like in everything I do, and I hope that comes off in the shop too, because I don't want people to feel like things are cluttered or there's just like too much stuff that they like feel overwhelmed. Yeah, don't compare yourself to other people. I think that's long story short.
Yeah, yeah, that's perfect. Where do you hope to take the shop in 1 year from now or in 5 years?
1 year from now, I feel like who knows like where things are gonna go in the next year, that like I would pretty much just to like maintain what's happening now. We have a lot of new customers because a lot of people have gotten dogs within the past couple months. There's new puppies that we meet like every week. So I think, building relationships with all of those people will be super important within the next year. And I think like continuing to build on my e-commerce site, like getting mostly everything else up there, that's definitely something that I'm hoping to work on too. 5 years, I think I want to expand and have another store eventually. Where, I don't know. I've like thought about South Philly, maybe, but I'm not so familiar. Like, I need to do some exploring and things like that to really nail a place down. So, like, kudos to all the people that have multiple stores, because really, I don't know how they sleep at night. One of the interviews that you had, the Philly style bagel one, his name was with John.
Yeah, with
He
John.
said something that you guys like posted on your Instagram, where he was like, when you're an employee, you want to make yourself irreplaceable, but when you're like a boss, you want to make yourself replaceable. And like when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, that is, if I haven't heard anything truer like that I need to like start working on that, because as an owner, you're just expected to answer every question 24 hours a day. Like it's like, yeah, I'm not in the shop, but like they could call me at any time. I think I need to work on just letting people handle it themselves and letting it go before I open another store, and literally would never like I feel like I'd be so stressed. So yeah, while that's a goal in 5 years to have another location, I think before that can happen, I really need to learn to like let go a little bit and know that I like can't control everything.
Then you can implement systems and processes that enable you to let go, but also have that peace of mind that the answer is there for them if they know where to
I
look.
think it's partly my fault because I just make myself too available to people too. I'm like, oh yeah, if you need me, call me. But in the back of my head, I'm like, please don't. Please, please leave
I've
me
done that to
alone.
my employees before. Yeah, that's been my life over the
Yeah.
past 2 weeks with um, people just calling me every day at whatever hour.
All right, we're going to head out very shortly. This final segment is called Ham and Bone and Questions. You can answer these quickly with just one word, or you can give detail if you would like to. Sound good, Amy?
Yes, it sounds great.
All right, fantastic. Best park to take your dog to?
I live right by Norris Square Park, so I think I'm partial. It's a great park. You have to keep them leashed, but it's big. There's a lot of dogs and a lot of people watching to do, so Norris Square Park.
Your favorite neighborhood in Philly besides Fishtown?
I don't have one, but a neighborhood that I've been wanting to check out a lot is East Falls area. I've been hearing a lot of good things and I've yet to check it out. So maybe that could potentially be my next favorite spot other than Fishtown.
I heard that they have a really good farmers market up there. One of my friends vends there. So Cedar Point or Locopez?
Cedar Point also, because Local Fest is always packed.
Yep. Fun
Good
fact,
thing.
Carl and I went to Cedar Point on our first date and we debated going to Locopez, but it smelled like barf in there, so we went across the street.
And finally, concluding with what is the most rewarding part of owning Ham and Bone?
When somebody comes to the shop, to get something or to get their dog groomed and they were like referred to by somebody else, I feel like that is pretty rewarding because it's like somebody else is speaking so highly of the shop and telling somebody else to go there. So I think it means a lot. So I feel like that's what makes it worth it.
Yeah, word of mouth is the best marketing that you could have.
So, Amy, where can people get in contact with you or potentially one of your pets?
So I think the easiest and most accessible way to contact or see more about us would be on Instagram, at ham and bone. And then if you're interested in my pets, you can check us out on Instagram as well, which I think our username is your fave v no FAV Cranimals, CRANIMALS. So at Ham and Bone or at your fave Cranimals, you can see the crazy life my animals live. But yeah, if you love dogs and seeing videos and photos of dogs, I highly suggest following us and watching our stories when you need that like 2 seconds of laughter in your day.
Oh yeah, it's highly, highly worth a follow.
Yeah, the photo
I
quality
follow,
is really good.
not mine.
Chatting with Amy was interesting since I've never had a pet and I've never had a pet shop. It was interesting to hear Amy's side of things.
Yeah, it was nice to talk specifically about the business rather than just like shoot the shit as friends. I learned a lot about her and just the shop in general. It just kind of made me want a dog even more.
Yeah, I was interested to hear that she bopped around to New York and to DC. I never knew exactly what she studied, but it's cool that she grew up locally and then made her way to Fishtown and is making a name for herself with Ham and Bone.
All right. What number episode was this for us?
This is the fifth, I believe.
Right. So we can enter the Spotify realm now.
Yeah, we've actually been on Spotify since the most recent episode with the Indie Shelf, which, if you have not heard it, you can find on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. But yeah, we're on Spotify now.
Yeah, just search openinPHL and you'll find us.
And if you want to hit us with a DM with somebody in the Philadelphia area that you think would be interesting to chat to, please reach out, whether through DM at openinPHLpod or give us an email at openinphlpod@gmail.com.
Multiple ways to reach out.
We're very diverse in this trying time. It's tough, but good thing the Wi-Fi is good here.
It's all right.
The best password you've come across, I'm sure, for the Wi-Fi.
Oh, no. No. My old password was Hail Satan at my old apartment when I lived alone. So I don't think you can beat that.
Yeah. Does that mean that you're vegan? I couldn't tell from the password.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Well, I'm going to change my Wi-Fi password. I hope you enjoyed the episode.
All right. I'm going to go look at dogs on Pet Finder now.
See ya.
Bye.